This is the brand new Tonale, Alfa's most advanced car ever. It is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? But is it all glamour and no substance, or is it Alfa's ticket to a brighter future? Let's find out. Classic and gorgeous Alfa Romeo styling around at the front. A lot of nods back to the past. We've got the normal typical V-shaped grille there with the offset reg plate. Even the light signatures, little nod to the past there. It's a little bit busy with a lot of black plastic trim down here. No, I think it looks really well. And overall, beautiful front end.
Save €60 when you buy your home insurance online. That makes relaxing at home, well, more relaxing. That's AA Home Insurance for you. Relax. Yellow and black have got your back.
Distinctively an SUV in style and shape. Now it's quite tall at 1.6 meters, not the biggest car in terms of its length at 4.5 meters. Some lovely design features in it. I like the way you get this little swoop just up here towards the C-pillar, body coloured handle. Got this kind of gloss black material here with a little Italian flag just imprinted in the indicator light, and your Veloce to indicate the spec that we have. Some lovely design cues around the back as well. I love the way this body colour just comes around underneath the rear window. Got those signature lights just there again, a little bit of black plastic down the end, a couple of sensors, and the functioning exhausts. Don't always get one of these days. Shark fin aerial up the top and a little brake light up there over a small, miniature, tiny little spoiler. Yeah, it looks really, really good. And the proud Tonale badge just there. As you'd expect, some lovely designs and options for alloy wheels when it comes to the Alfa. Now we're on the 19 inches today, so these are 235 45s, and I think they look great. Reasonable money as well if you want to upgrade. You can go for 20-inch rims also. But yeah, I think they look excellent. Brembo 4-piston self-ventilated brakes just there. Let's have a look inside the boot and see how we're doing in terms of space. Now we have the plug-in hybrid version here today, so we lose out on a bit because there's the extra bit of batteries and motor in there. Now, flat floor, which is good, so great for sliding packages in and out. Some nice features in here, like a couple of tow hooks, the 12-volt socket, 40-60 splits on the seat there with a ski hatch. Take out the parcel shelf if you want. But the issue, as we just alluded to, is space. We've only got 385 litres in here. Now, if you go for the mild hybrid version, that expands out to 500, which is a lot more usable. So, you know, is it disappointing? Well, it's certainly on the low end, but then again, are you going to buy this car to be lugging around huge boxes and buggies and bags? You know what? I think 385 is fine. You'll get by. Then, when we want to close it, two buttons just here. One is to simply just close the boot, and the other one is to close it, but it'll also lock it as well. Let's see if it works. No. There we go. Classic Alfa. You wouldn't love it as much if it didn't do that, would you? What's internal space like then inside the Tonale? Well, for starters, rake and reach adjustment on the steering wheel, which is great to have. A little bit sticky actually when you move it around, but it's fine. Now, for a bit of context, I'm 6'2", so 1.89 meters or thereabouts, and I have the car set up for my seating position, which is actually quite comfortable. Now, the seats are, I suppose, a little bit firm, but in a way that's a good thing for a little bit of spirited driving, but they are comfortable, absolutely fine, and you feel quite enclosed here as well, and that kind of adds to that sporty Alfa effect, I suppose. Let's see what it's like in the back now. Not the biggest of door apertures just here, but it's fine. We can fit in absolutely okay. Now, push my bum right back in the seat there, and my knees still do touch the back of the chair, but it's nicely padded. So yeah, it's okay space, but let's remember this is two people, set up for two people at 6'2". Electric windows just here. The feel of the materials is lovely. Of electric windows, magazine pouch there, a couple of USB connections. There is a small transmission tunnel just there. So wouldn't be the most comfortable for the middle back passenger, and it's not the widest either. But feel of the seats is absolutely fantastic. And head height, yeah, I really have to push my head right up to touch it off the top, so it's comfortable. And you know, this is with two people at 6'2". So yeah, the Tonale does all right. If someone is desperately in need of space, probably never going to go for this anyway. So for what it's going to be used for in general, I think it's absolutely fine. Yeah, love the feel of this material. Here we are going over some of those ramps in housing estates at the moment, and the Alfa is set up a little bit firmer than average, and you kind of expect it to be. Here's another one here at 40 kilometers an hour, and yeah, it's firm enough as well. And even that suspension, once you get to the rebound stage, you go over it and the wheels flick back down. It gives an almighty thud sometimes. There's not much travel there and cushioning on that, but it's kind of the way you want it set up. We're not really buying an Alfa Romeo just to wallow around, are we? So we're looking for a bit of a sharper suspension. And this does it, but if you have it in sport mode, it firms everything up, makes it a little bit tighter and so on. But this little button down here, if you still want it in sport mode, but a little bit softer dampening, you can just click that button there and get that blend between the two, and that's quite nice. Did you hear that bonging there? That's one thing that is just, whoa. Okay, I think it's just picked up on Bluetooth. Turn that off now. The Alfa has its own little quirks and personalities like that. You know what? I still really like it for it. No problems with it. But yeah, that bonging just, we can't. We've done 1,000 kilometers in this car since we've had it. I've had 2 or 3 different passengers, and nobody can put their finger on exactly why it happens, and we haven't been able to find out how to turn it off. And it's just strange. We were trying to think, is it sensor? Anyway. So what's powering the Tonale? Well, we've got 2 main options really. There's the mild hybrid, and then there's the plug-in hybrid, which is the version that we have here today. So let's start off with the mild hybrid. Now you get a 1.5 litre petrol engine, and that turns out 160 horsepower. What we have here today is the plug-in hybrid version of it. Now that's got the 1.3 litre petrol engine, so slightly smaller, but it's also got an electric motor in the back. Total power output is going to be 280 horsepower, thanks to the addition of the 1.3 litre petrol with the 90 kilowatt motor that's on the back. But you might have noticed I said on the back, so this is actually a 4-wheel drive car. We've got the petrol version turning the front wheels, and then we've got that smaller electric motor in the back turning the back wheels. Great for traction, great for getting you off the line and just being that little bit more responsive. We have the plug-in hybrid version here today, and this is where you top it up with those electrons. Type 2 connection there. There's no DC charging on this, but it's a small battery and you don't want to be blocking the charger for EVs anyway, so that's a good thing. Type 2 connection. Now, granny cable at home, you're looking at 6 to 7 hours to completely top up. Whereas if you have a dedicated home charger, you'll do that in about 2.5 hours. And we've got 5 little lights just here, and they will flash depending on the state of charge when you have it plugged in. So you can just look out your window and see how you're doing. Obviously 0 to 20% is the one light flashing, and so on. And on the other side then is where we top up with petrol. Now, if you go for the mild hybrid version of this, you get a 55 litre fuel tank in there. We've got the plug-in hybrid version, so we get a smaller tank, I suppose, because they have to make some space in there for batteries and the motor, and we only get 42 litres. So there's 3 different driving modes when it comes to the Tonale. The first one is what we'll put it into now, just by this little rotary kind of knob down here. So D, N and A are the 3 different modes. A refers to all electric, so we've put it into A there, and it's just incredibly smooth. There's obviously no engine noise, there's only a small little motor in the back pushing us forward. But there's enough power in it as well. At 90 kilowatts that motor is. Then if we turn that rotary knob, we go into N, which is like a hybrid mode. And at that stage, it favors the electric motor. So you're using battery power whenever it can, and then when you accelerate just that little bit more aggressively, the petrol motor will come in, that 1.3 litre petrol motor will come in behind it and give you enough power to get you on. Then what we have is D, so we turn it again, we go up into D, and the second I do that, the dials change, the petrol engine comes on, and that stays on no matter what. So even now it's holding a high gear as well. We're not accelerating and it was still sitting there at 3,000 revs. But we've also got the flappy paddle gears just to flick up and down as we want there, drop down into 5th gear, flick it twice, up to 3,000 revs in 3rd gear. And then if we just don't touch the flappy paddles for a few seconds, it goes back into automatic mode right there just now. But you can feel that the steering is that bit sharper. The suspension is firmed up as well. I mean, because we've got the 2 motors permanently activated now, it's a lot more responsive than it is in other ones. Now, when I say it's a lot more responsive, that's relative to what? So if you're used to your 1.4, 1.6 litre petrol or diesel SUV, you're going to find this quite responsive, because you get the 90 kilowatts of electric power coming in instantaneously within a fraction of a second, and then the car chooses the gear that it thinks you need, puts it into that, and then you get more power kicking in off the petrol engine. So it does feel more responsive than what you're used to, but still falls a good bit short of just a fully battery electric vehicle. So this has about 280 horsepower. If you get into another fully electric vehicle, even an ID4, Skoda Enyaq, the all-wheel drive, something like that, they do feel a lot sharper and a lot more responsive, because you're not waiting for the petrol engine to decide on its gear and then kick in. And let's have a little example of that now. So we're just letting a car turn in front of us. We're at 60 kilometers an hour, floor it. Now we get the petrol 70, 80, 90, there we go. So it really does shift once it's going at full tilt, the engine screaming, the electric motor's kicking in behind you, and it actually is quite fast. So you're looking at that 0 to 100 in 6.2 seconds, which is quite a decent time actually. As we're coming up towards one of those small little towns now, speed is dropping from 80 kilometers down to 60, and we'll be 50 now. And it is giving us a small amount of regen as well. Now we can see what it's doing. If we go over to the screen here, we go to the e-hybrid menu, and then there's an option here called Power Flow, and that'll show us what we're doing. So as we're coming into this little town now, we're going to take my foot off. So the engine is switched off, and you can see a graphic representation of this as well. And we're actually putting energy back into the battery at 3 kilowatts. And if I press the brake pedal lightly, that's up to 15, 20 kilowatts now. And we're charging back the battery, putting energy back in as we brake. And it's blended really, really nicely as well. Because you've got a decent electric motor and a decent sized battery there, it can actually regen brake at a significant amount. So you'd find yourself going through the vast majority of your commute without really using the friction brakes. And you can see as well, if you go into driving history there, it will show you how much you've regenerated in terms of energy on each day. So we can see there, the last 3 days I've been driving it, I've been regenerating about 5 kilowatt hours of energy on each day. Let's talk pricing. How much is the Tonale? Well, you might actually get a little bit of a surprise here. Now, we all know, looking at car prices over the last year or so, they've just gone bonkers. The prices are going up and up and up. And we were surprised when we found out. It starts off at 49,995, let's call it 50,000 euros. And that's for the mild hybrid kind of entry-level version. If you want to go for the plug-in hybrid, in general, you're spending that extra 5,000 euros to get it. Then obviously you can trade up in a few specs as well. So to get something nice like what we have here today, you're knocking on the door of 60,000 euros. But when you look at the competition and how much some of the other brands are charging, that actually seems quite reasonable for something that's going to stand out, be so distinctive. It's good fun to drive. And you know what? In today's world, that's actually not too bad. I hate to say it, 50,000 euros is a lot of money, but we reckon that's the case. Let's just have a little chat about range. When we're talking about battery electric vehicles, the first thing we do is we talk about range. Oh, there's that bonging again. I have no idea why. Did one hand off the steering wheel? Maybe. Anyway. So yeah, range in the Tonale. So we have a combination of two different energy stores. So we've got the petrol tank and we've got the battery there. So the battery is 15.5 kilowatt hours. Now I looked through the brochures and all that, and that didn't tell me whether that was net or gross, as in was all of that usable, and I don't think it is. But we're probably still going to have, 11, 12 kilowatt hour usable. They say you'll get about 60 kilometers out of it, and that's always optimistic. It's in favorable circumstances, but you can kind of rely on 40, 45 kilometers without too much trouble. And in general, I've been getting about that 45 or 50 kilometers out of it. But interestingly, when you opt for this plug-in hybrid version, you get a 42 litre petrol tank instead of a 55. Now, in terms of range, it's going to depend on how you drive it, of course, but I've done about 1,000 kilometers in this car, including a trip across Ireland from the east coast right over to the west coast to the Cliffs of Moher. And we can pull up my information just here on trips. So over that 970 kilometers, I've averaged 4.8 litres per 100 kilometers, but that includes charging up the battery about 4 times. So I think if you're buying this expecting to save a huge amount of money, it's not really going to happen, because it's a little bit thirsty when you don't have any battery power left. And what I did is, before I left to cross the country, so from pretty much Drogheda all the way over to the Cliffs of Moher, on that trip there and back and a little bit of pottering around. So I charged it before I left and I charged it fully when I arrived down there, and we did 650 kilometers in total, and I averaged 5.6 litres per 100 kilometers. And I'm pretty sure if you had some of the other mild hybrids that are out there, or a diesel engine, that you probably would have beaten that in terms of efficiency. Have a little talk about what the suspension is like. So now I'm going to turn it from N into D mode, which is sport. So feel the petrol engine coming on straight away there. Steering has sharpened up, and we're coming up to a couple of little roundabouts here. So if we turn it right, then into it sharp left again. Oh, it stays so poised. Really, really balanced. A lot more so than when you think about the competition. Now we're going to go around this roundabout again. Oh, it feels absolutely stuck. The steering is precise and really, really poised and balanced. Now, if I was to criticize it in any way, and it's probably not even a fair criticism, there's not a huge amount of feel from the steering. It is very, very light. So you can, I mean, coming around the roundabout here, we could just do that with a finger on the steering wheel. Yeah, there's not a huge amount of feedback through the steering. And some people might find that a little bit of an issue. They might want something a little bit more engaging. But let's remind ourselves, we're in a big SUV here. There's other Alfa Romeos out there for that kind of a job. But yeah, no, compared to the competition and some of the other SUVs, there's that bonging again, I don't know why. Compared to other SUVs, this kind of size and weight, it does feel a lot real sharp, and yeah, good fun. And here we are coming onto a motorway. We're at 90 kilometers an hour in sport mode. Floor it. Petrol engine kicks in. 90, 110, 120. There we go. Yeah, it really does move when you plant your foot like that. Time for some concluding thoughts on the Alfa Romeo Tonale then. And you know what, over the week that I've had it, it's just grown on me so much. I think it's absolutely drop dead gorgeous in terms of design, both on the exterior and the interior. Really looks great. Decent tech inside, quick enough, nice bit of range on that battery that you get in this plug-in hybrid version. And you know what, the price point is actually okay when you compare it to what's out there in the market at the moment. Now, will I tell everybody to run out and buy one straight away? No, I won't. If you want really good value, if you're looking to save a few pennies, there's definitely cheaper out there. If you need a lot of space, there's probably ones out there with much bigger boots and more rear leg room. But there's something that this Alfa does that pretty much nothing else on the market does, and it just gives you that sense of passion. If you want to get a crossover SUV, but you just love a spirited drive through the weekend, this ticks a lot of boxes. And there's a lot of people out there going to run out and just buy a BMW X1 straight away. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, but just stop for a second, take this for a test drive, give it a chance and see what you make of it.